Disembowelment? As my friends and I wandered further into the woods, I realized I wasn't sure quite how to get back. It didn't bother me too much, we were only about a mile out and I knew we'd get back eventually. If I needed to, I could use the GPS on my phone. Thank God for technology. We were in the woods just for the hell of it. It seemed like a good day to take a walk. The three of us liked creepy stuff, so my friend Jacob brought his camera in case we saw something cool. Sometimes I tried to scare myself, so I almost hoped it got dark quickly. I almost hoped we'd lose reception and see something run through the trees ahead of us. Something interesting to liven up the world, to show me that there were still things people didn't know about. Well, after a few hours of walking, we wound up in a spot that was suitably creepy. There were sticks jammed in the ground, like pikes with the heads of baby dolls stuck to the top of them. I had never seen something quite like this. We were still on my land though, so this was probably from the last people that lived here. They had seemed kind of weird. Jacob took out his camera and recorded some of the baby heads. "This is too fucking weird," he said, laughing. "Have you ever actually seen something like this?" I shook my head, as did our other friend Mike. But we were having a good time, creeped out but not overly worried. The doll heads looked old, and so did the pikes. They were rotting and falling apart. Just relics from a time forgotten. Whoa, guys, look at this," Jacob said, suddenly more serious. Mike and I followed him. Further into the woods, more pikes jammed into the ground around us. There was one every few feet, it looked like. When we reached Jacob, he was inspecting one of the pikes, filming it, gesturing for us to look at it. "Holy shit," Mike mumbled. Holy shit was right. This wasn't what we'd actually expected to see, even if I had secretly hoped for it. On one of the pikes, instead of a doll head, was a cat head. The eyes were open and dried out, and there was dried blood on the wood below its severed neck. We were all pretty shaken, and soon Jacob asked what we were all thinking. "How fresh is that?" It wasn't rotting. We knew what that meant. The doll heads might have been old, but this was recent. "Are we still on your land?" Mike asked. He was looking around, his brow furrowed, his eyes disturbed and worried. I nodded. I was getting concerned. I wondered where the rest of the body would be. I assumed close, thinking that the cat killer wouldn't have wanted to carry the head far. I started to look around for the rest of the cat. I wasn't sure what I'd do when I found it, but I wanted to see it. That would be a real scare. To see a partially dismembered cat deep in my woods, my own land. A recent killing. In my backyard. I found it quick enough. It was partially hidden by a bush a few feet from the pike. I told Mike and Jacob to come check it out. I told Jacob to keep the camera running. He would want to get this. The cat's body was cut open down the middle. Its guts were pulled out, resting next to its carcass. The fur was matted with blood and chunks of what should have been inside it. Mike recoiled from the smell. It was heinous. Even though it wasn't rotted, for the most part, it had probably been here a day or two. It was ripe. Jacob and I just pinched our noses and tried not to taste it when we breathed. "That cat," Mike said, looking frantically into the woods, "it was disemboweled. Who the fuck would do that?" Jacob and I just shook our heads. We were mesmerized by the body. It was like nothing we'd ever seen, or even imagined seeing. Here was a cat, somebody's pet, with its head cut off and its insides strewn about. Here was Patches, or Rocky, someone's friend. And here were her intestines. And here was Mike, gagging, almost vomiting, saying we should go back to my house. "Wait," I said. "We'll go back in just 1 minute. But I have to know if there's more." "Are you fucking joking?" he nearly shouted. "We have to get out of here. This guy could still be out here." "This'll only take a minute," I said. I stepped away from the cat and walked toward the next pike. I gestured for Jacob to come. Here was a raccoon's head, older than the cat's, but not by a lot. And there was its body, disemboweled as well. Over that way was another raccoon. A little further, what looked like a dog. "All right, I think this is far enough," I finally agreed. It was starting to get dark, and now I was wishing it wasn't. "We gotta get back to my house. This is some seriously grim shit." We all turned around to follow the pikes back the way we'd come. There's where we hit our problem. A man was standing at the first pike, watching us. He was mostly a silhouette, but I could see his eyes. And I could see the knife in his hand. And I could feel my pants becoming warm and wet. And I could hear Mike let out a scream. Everything seemed slow. One event after another. Never one at a time. Are these my last moments? My last cruelly slow moments? Well, I got what I wanted. I was scared. Mike started to run, yelling for us to follow him. I turned to run with him, and as I did, I saw the man in the corner of my eye. I saw him burst into a sprint toward us. I tried to speed up, but it just wasn't enough. I suddenly felt a terrible pain in the back of my foot, and I fell, screaming. The man left me and tore off after my friends. I looked down and saw that he'd sliced the Achilles tendon on my left foot. There was blood, there was a lot of blood. I looked back to my friends, helpless as he did the same to them. We were all on the ground, screaming, trying to crawl back to what we knew. Trying to crawl back to a world where nothing was unknown. A sane world. A safe world. It was too late for that. The man kneeled next to Mike. Poor Mike. He was crying, screaming. "Please don't do this," he screamed. "We're just kids," he screamed. "Please just let us go," he screamed. Poor Mike. The man cut Mike's right hand off. Just one quick chop and suddenly there's even more blood and screaming. The man started to cut straight down Mike's middle. He was screaming and crying and tried to push the man away with the only hand he had now, but he was weak. It was hopeless. The man started to pull out Mike's intestines. I was horrified. Jacob and I started to scream and try to crawl away again. The man was too busy ripping Mike apart to care. I got a few feet when Mike stopped screaming. I risked a look. The man was standing slowly, finished with his job. Mike's organs were all pulled out, his skin flayed, his head cut off. The man probably had a pike somewhere, waiting for it. He went for Jacob next. He stomped on his back and flipped him over so he could get at his quivering belly, full of organs ready to be ripped out. When Jacob was still in pain, unable to move, the man made one quick slash, opening him up. Blood poured out of his middle, screams poured out of his mouth, begging, pleading the man to stop, or to at least kill him before pulling at his organs. He asked the man to end it before making him suffer. The man remained stoic. He reached into Jacob, making it slow. He cut out a chunk of fat and held it in front of Jacob's face, showing him. He cut out a chunk of intestines and held that up to Jacob's face too. He stuffed it in Jacob's mouth and said the first thing we'd heard him say. "Eat it." Jacob was crying, shaking his head, but he didn't dare spit it out. The man became enraged. He grabbed Jacob's jaw, pushing and pulling it, forcing him to chew, forcing him to eat himself. "Eat it," the man screamed. "You fucking eat it. And you like it, don't you little fucker? You like your dirty body. You love it. Eat it. Eat it all." He cut out more chunks of intestines, chunks of stomach still dripping with acid. He shoved it all into Jacob's mouth, forcing his jaw to move up and down. Forcing him to eat himself. I turned my head and started vomiting. My tears dropped down into the puddle of vomit, just more of me on the ground. Soon there would be more. More and more, until I was dead. I might suffer more than Jacob, something I couldn't even fathom. Could anything be worse than what he was going through? I wished I could comfort him. I wished I could do anything but watch. The man ended it. He pulled out Jacob's organs quickly and cut his head off. I wanted to die on the spot. It was my turn. I couldn't take it. I was sure I couldn't. I would go insane. I would die before this man could barely start getting into my body. I wished. I prayed. For death. The man didn't have to stomp me. I had stopped crawling. He flipped me over and reached the knife down to my stomach. I didn't resist. I had a plan. He put the knife in slowly for me. It was more painful than I could have imagined. Once the knife had entered and was cutting slowly up my abdomen, I did it. I pushed up and forward suddenly, trying to drive the knife further in, trying to end it quickly, trying to commit suicide using another person. The man pushed me back down and held me there. "No," he screamed. That's cheating, you dirty little cheater. You can just get out easy, you don't understand, you can't do that. Please, please, just kill me, I begged. Please, don't make me suffer through what you did to them. Please. The man was still in rage. But it was a quiet rage. The kind your parents have when they don't want to yell at you, but they're still terribly angry. Furious. The kind where, even though they're quiet, you feel guilty because you can tell they're extra angry because they're trying to control themselves. The scary kind of rage. That was how the man was. You think you get out easy? He asked. You think you can just not suffer? You have to. So you can learn. So I can learn. Suffering is necessary. He pushed the knife the rest of the way up and slowly stretched out my intestines. I won't make you eat it, he assured me. But you'll suffer most of all, I think. I was screaming and crying. He cut my intestines apart. He cut open my stomach. He'd worked at my organs for a while, me screaming but not resisting, when he suddenly stopped and looked up at my face. He smiled. I like your teeth, he commented. Oh no. No. The man reached up, his hands soaked in the blood of my friends and myself. The blood and shit and acid from our insides, from our intestines and stomachs, and oh god, he's really doing it. He shoved the tip of the knife up under the gum on one of my top front teeth. He wriggled it around, scraping, cutting up my gums, separating them from my teeth. This lasted minutes. It felt like hours. He took all my teeth and dumped them on my organs for the moment. Then he did the same to my fingernails and my toenails. Please kill me, I begged again. The words came out wrong without teeth, speaking through the pain and the blood. I'd have never thought that someday I'd be begging for death. Wishing for it just hours after I'd wished to see something really creepy. Something terrifying. You tried to cheat, the man said quietly. You get punished for it. He left me. I didn't want to turn my head to see where he was going, but I had to know. I couldn't just sit here, him doing anything in the world. Oh god no, please kill me now. The man scooped a handful of chewed organs out of Jacob's mouth. His dead mouth. Oh god no. The man walked back to me and smiled. This is what you get for cheating, the man whispered. You will suffer. He shoved it in my mouth. Pre-chewed parts of my dead friend's insides. I choked, I panicked, I tried to spit it out. The man grabbed my jaw and held it shut. Then he pinched my nose. I couldn't breathe. I might drown in my dead friend's intestines. How long would that take, I wondered. Swallow it, the man demanded. Swallow it and I'll kill you. I'll kill you on the spot. Just swallow. I swallowed. I choked it down, now eager to devour my friend. I needed to die. I wanted to die. Anything to end this. When I finished swallowing, the man let go of my nose and shook his head. He lied. He didn't kill me. He started to walk away. I screamed at him. He couldn't leave me this way. Disemboweled, part of my friend on its way down to my cut-up stomach where it would pour into the rest of me. The man turned. He smiled. He kneeled. And he took a bite out of my intestines. I'll be back with some sticks, he said around a mouthful. Don't worry, you'll be dead by the time I get back. Did you learn anything? I did. Be careful what you wish for. Finn.